I also give a lot of props to a guy that I think I deserve blame for not talking about him more.
Yeah.
Jankowski.
Okay.
Yeah.
The hit that he got, I want to say it was over the second baseman's head there that drove in to make it 2-0 at the time. I'm just like, gosh, you know what? When that happened, I was here at the game with my family. I'll get more into that at 10:45. I don't feel like I talk about him enough because he's kind of not what I consider an everyday player. But he's turning more and more out to be an everyday guy who bats 7th in the lineup, and he's batting well over 300. And I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to make
331.
I'm going to make sure that I mention Jankowski because I knew Corey Seager hit the homer and that's it, and he's the guy. But I was just like, man, Jankowski's come through so many times this year for us.
He feels like the guy that every team that's really good when you reflect on them has that guy. Now, they can take any number of different shapes or roles, but he's the guy when you look back and you're like, you got to have a Jankowski.
And Mike, that's kind of what I was talking about a little yesterday. I don't know if we talked about it on air or just if it was off air, is, when Bruce Bochy comes from the National League. And I know the American League is like, they're the same now, but back then he was like, man, I have to have a player for this, a player for that, a player for this, just in case I have to do these triple swaps. And he always had something prepared. And so I wonder whenever he was building this roster, if he was like, now, before we do anything else, I need this fixture. I need one of these guys that can do it. They did it with, when they went and added Grossman, they were like, here's an opportunity for this. I don't know if they expected Duran to launch into everyday kind of guy. But there's Jankowski is just another part of it. And was it him that they were like, hey, look, you're probably not going to be making the team during spring training, but there's going to be a spot for you?
I knew that there was a big battle for him in spring training, and I'm not sure if I have this right or not, that he might have not had the best spring training, but Boch went to him and said, I know what you can do. I've seen you play. You're here in this organization for a reason because I want you on this team. So it was almost like, I don't know if they knew that he was going to be on the team, but it was almost like Boch telling him at some point during spring training, I really want you on this team.
Yeah, and that's a huge factor in the, like, Kevin, this goes to Duran. You can play him for 7 innings, 8 innings, and then in the 9th, if you need to throw Jankowski in there, you feel pretty comfortable. If you get the defensive effort, because you know you're going to get good defense from him, but then if you need him to come up in the in the 9th inning at some point, he can deliver for you.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you guys is, it might sound like an odd question, but a week ago when we did this show, we were coming off the All-Star game.
Yeah.
So how different, if at all, do you feel about this team compared to even a week ago? Now, it's only 5 games.
100%
I really want to point that out. But look what happened. Will Smith got the save, and then the night before, you saw Chapman shut it down. You have done better with runners in scoring position. And most importantly, well, and it's probably not surprising, since you've done all those things, you've won 5 straight. And so it felt like, even though the Rangers still had a really good overall record, it felt like people were kind of down on the team going into the All-Star break. So a week after the fact, or after the All-Star game, do you feel any different about this team? Because this is a hell of a start.
I do. It's kind of like a percentage of how much I do. That's why I'm hesitant to say, well, yes, 100%. Now they're going to win 40 out of their next 60 games. Because I said, out of the All-Star break, I don't think they're going to lose, and go 12-19 in their next 31. I also don't think they're going to go 40-20 in their next 60. I think those were 2.
They'd go undefeated in the second half.
That is
true. So far, you're right. But I look at this team and go, good. This is the resiliency that we saw in April and May and part of June, and that we lost there for a month. And it concerned me. Sure, things can flip. There's been plenty of teams. I just go to the 2012 Texas Rangers. That was the best team in baseball by far.
Yeah.
That was not even 2011. They were the best baseball team by far, and they fell 1 game short of being the best team. In 2012, they were the best team by far, and they didn't even make the real playoffs.
I thought Josh Hamilton was going to put together the best season we'd ever seen.
So teams can surprise you in multiple ways, And at the end of the year, you see what you are after 162. And right now, I am pleasantly surprised on how well they've played coming out of the break.
Something that Bochy said yesterday, it made a lot of sense, and I'm sure he gets questions like that all the time, is if Tampa's a big series. And he was like, I mean, I get the questions, but it's tough to say that because the Dodgers are going to be a big series. Obviously, then the Astros are going to be a big series. But we talked about it. You had 4 quality opponents coming out of the break. And one of the things I said was, how cool would it be if you just won every one of those series? Well, you've won the first 2. Now, I know you would love to see a sweep today.
Yes.
But you have won the first 2. And if people were dumping on Cleveland, well, Tampa Bay is probably the second best team in baseball.
Didn't we say 5-4 would be pretty good here?
Yeah, you're 5-0.
You're 5-0,
Now
so
I'd
you've
be
hit the
mad
5.
about 5-4.
And then you looked at Houston and go, oh, crap. They have the Angels, who are horrible now. And then Colorado and Oakland, they're probably going to go 7-2 or 8-1 during this stretch, and we're going to be tied or even maybe trailing a game going into that Houston series. And that doesn't look like that's going to be the case as you're 4.5 up.
Also, low-key, watch the Mariners, too. They have struggled out of the gate, too, and fallen back.
The pitching, Mike, for me has been something that I've really liked, too, is the guys you're like, hey, we need you to give us a good outing or giving you good outings. And then I know Leclerc did not look as confident as he looked 2 nights ago. Like, he looked like the completely different guy, a completely different dude. Even like when he stepped on the mound, I was like, no, he doesn't have the same vibe as he had last time.
He's an inconsistent pitcher. He can be really good, and then he can, to be nice, he can be inconsistent where you worry about what he's going to bring after the first batter of the game. I will say this is a reminder, these 2 games, and I'm not trying to take anything away from the Rangers because you mentioned Tampa being the second best team, the Atlanta Braves, how their splits are crazy. They are 35-15 at home, and they are 25-23 on the road. So they are 20 games over the Tampa Bay Rays at home.
Wild.
And remember, going into that series, we were like, crap, they've only lost 6 games.
Yeah.
At home.
So if you lose that series, it didn't have to be that crushing.
Yeah, so this is Tampa Bay. This is interesting here because the Rangers only find themselves, I know this gets into bigger picture and we're worried about winning the division, making the playoffs, all those things. You now have 39 losses to Tampa Bay's 38.
You're only 2 games back and 1 in the loss.
I will say Tampa Bay looks like a team. Now the Rangers are starting to have a similar split, but not as big.
Dramatic,
Is you look at Tampa, you go, boy, could you imagine if you got the 1 seed and Tampa didn't have home field if you made it to the ALCS against them? Because to me, the home field is way bigger for Tampa than any team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it's a factor. It is a factor as you've seen it so far here as we're trying to build a group of fans that know how to cheer for baseball. That's one of the things we're really hoping is that this could be a huge benefit to you whenever playoffs come around.
Tried, and my wife actually said one time yesterday, she said, you got it going. I started clapping like in the 2nd or 3rd inning with 2 strikes for Evaldi to finish out the inning. And a couple people kind of kept clapping, but I was probably one of like 3 people in my section. And I'm like, just because the board goes off, which they have to take, they cannot keep throwing up, make noise, or keep clapping while the pitcher is pitching the ball. It's really fun being here. There's a lot of people here, and they cheer their butts off when the action happens.
Can you imagine? Remember the Luka playoff game against the Clippers that you went to, where you were like, I have a headache just being in the arena.
Yeah.
Can you imagine this place being that loud for an entire baseball game? That's what I'm looking forward to.
I think I can because of how much progress you've seen based off of just the team winning. Like earlier in the crosstalk when we were like, hey, maybe there's going to be 30,000 people here today, like legit people. And I said 32,000 is – if I asked you this time last year, you'd be like, I don't know, 4 people. And so, like,
they were showing highlights of Josh Young when he came up to bat in the 5th inning, and Jake was like, because they were getting ready for Josh Young to lead off the inning, I believe, or something. So they had about a 1.5-minute clip, and Jake, my son, goes, that was last year because nobody's here.
So that's a step in the right direction. Is you're getting people out here and you're seeing. I'm not saying you're magically going to turn into Boston or St. Louis straight away, but I think you're seeing movement in the right direction.
Get Ohtani, this place will be sold out every game.
It'll be a ticket where it's
Are you ready to believe? Do I need to play the Buster Olney
I don't
clips
want
again?
to, because I don't want to get my hopes up that much, because I know how tough it will be for them to trade Ohtani, trade him in division, all kinds of things. I do think there's a percentage, it's a small percentage that it would happen, but I do believe if you traded for Ohtani, let's just say it happened tonight. It's not, but let's just say it did. I do think that Dodger series is pretty much already sold out, but I believe the rest of the season you have a sellout every game here. And that's the thing that owners have to take into. Ray Davis has to really look at and go, if I were to give him $70 million a year and just crush the marketplace by giving him a 10-year, let's say $700 million deal. I said $750 yesterday, maybe $700 to $750 on a 10-year deal. Do I sell out every game next year? Do I sell out every game after that? And if I sell out every game, and then I'm also bringing in $25 million from somewhat the Japanese market because of him, maybe it is worth $70 million a year.
Yeah. People they're going to want to show up to see him for sure, man. I think here's the deal, Kevin. Once Mike hears a whisper from in this place about that being a thing, then he'll be more excited. I think it's like, okay, I see where the national stuff's going right now, but once somebody in this building has something, I think that's whenever Mike will be more like, hold on, this is possible reality.